Can you tell me about the 5 kilo arrest you made in uniform?
Yeah, it was the early '90s. I was on patrol doing day shift, and we had a whole bunch of cab robberies going on in the precinct. And NYPD precincts towards the end of the tour, you want to get as close to the precinct as possible, and you can't go in early. If there's a shoe fly, you get a command discipline. So cops circle the precinct like buzzards. It's like LaGuardia Airport during the holidays. Like you got all these police cars crisscrossing, right? So my partner and I are just waiting, looking at the watch, waiting for the tour to go in. And I see a cab pass by with a bunch of young guys in the back. And one of them is leaning over the front with his head right next to the cab driver. And I told the guy I'm working with, I'll go, he was driving. I go, I think that cab's getting robbed. So we start following it. And as soon as we start following the cab, it starts burning lights. So we put on our emergency lights, pull the cab over, and run up on the car. And in the back seat, you got these three guys with a shopping bag. And the shopping bag is like a hot potato. And the bag rips, and I see a kilo. And I thought I was on candid camera, like I was waiting for Alan Funt to come out. We open the door, 4 or 5 kilos, 3 hombres, cuff them up, bring them back to the precinct. I'm on top of the world. I feel like I won the Stanley Cup. I'm walking around with the kilos. People are taking, you worked at the DEA, you know how that's a big deal. Taking photos of it. Guys are blowing smoke up my ass. You're going to go to the narcotics division, like, right? So in the NYPD, when you make a summary arrest like that, it's not a case arrest, it's just stumbled upon it. That night, you have to go to the courthouse and draw up the arrest. So the coke goes to the lab. Someone takes the prisoners down to central booking. I go down to the Bronx courthouse to write up the arrest. It's dead of winter. And the neighborhood around the Bronx courthouse is rough. And around 5 p.m., after that judge bangs that gavel, it's like a ghost town. There was like one diner. And I didn't like it. But across the street from the Bronx courthouse, they had just opened up this new food court. It was like a bunch of stores. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to treat myself. So I'm in uniform, about 7, 8 o'clock at night. I go in there. I order veal parm, spaghetti. I'm sitting there. I'm eating. I've always had problems with my stomach. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh, I got to go. I can't go to the courthouse bathroom because it's a dungeon. But the food court, it's probably like a cathedral in there. Like no one's even used the bathroom, right? So I go into the bathroom. It's clean. I go into the stall. I take off my gun belt. I hang it on the hook. I drop my pants and I'm getting ready for liftoff. While I'm sitting there, I hear the bathroom door kick open and I hear teenagers. And they're screaming and hitting the hand dryers and turning on the sinks. And I'm like, oh, shit. Like, yeah, I'm in uniform. I'm a New York City cop. Quite vulnerable here. Then it gets quiet. And I go, did they leave? Did they see the legs on them? Now it's weird. Like it went from pandemonium to now it's quiet. I said, I better get dressed. And I lean forward to grab my pants. And I look up. And a kid went into the next stall, jumped on the toilet, and he's reaching over to grab my gun belt. And I went, oh, shit. So I jump up and with my left, try to pull up my pants. And with my right, I grab him by the neck and I pull him. But when I pull him, I put him closer to the gun belt and he grabs it. So I'm like, oh, shit. So now I drop my pants and it's a hockey fight. I'm just hitting him with my left. His friends run into the next stall. They're pulling his legs. Finally, I get him to let go of the gun belt. It hits the floor, and that metal wall, like it's aluminum, it bends, it bucked over, right? They run out, pull up my pants, put on my gun belt, go charging outside. There's like a 300-pound porter buffing the floor. I go, Poppy, Poppy. Takes his Walkman out. I go, did you see like a bunch of teenagers run out of here? He goes, no. So I got my radio in my hand, and I'm like, do I get on the radio and call a 1013 and give a description and try to catch these kids? But if I do that, I'm going to be the laughing stock of the Bronx. Like every time I go to court, they're going to like, you see that guy over there? I ate it. And I hadn't told that story until I got into writing, but I didn't tell a soul until I started writing books because it was just too embarrassing. But it was too good of a story not to put in one of my books.
Yeah.
But I went from locking up 3 guys with 4 or 5 keys to almost losing my gun belt the same night.
Wow. Wow.